stuck in the bed. Stuck in the bed. Stuck in the bed.
Hello. Good
Hello.
morning. Welcome to episode
No one knows.
No Clue. This one we're going for the 100 views. It's gonna happen. Trust me when I say this episode will be the one that more people watch than ever because we're doing something modern, and that's, oh boy, The Glare, Chappell Roan, The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess. And let's start right there with that title because I couldn't find anyone talking about that title. But Mike, what comes to mind when you hear The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess?
The rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust.
Yes, exactly correct. It's a nod. I mean, it has to be a nod. It's that or just the Roman Empire, right? There it is. Look at that. And it's tough, really tough to see in red, but anywho, it is an obvious nod, I believe, on intentional nod to David Bowie, to Mr. Davy Jones, is his real name, and his androgynous superstar that he created in the 70s, superstar persona. Ziggy Star comprised, I believe, of Ziggy, which is a take on Iggy, who was his friend. Iggy Pop being James Osterberg of the Stooges, and who would later really be like truly buddy buddy. And Stardust being a nod to the legendary Stardust Cowboy of Austin, Texas, who was a recording musician who was very fringe, avant-garde, unlistenable noise. His most famous song was Paralyzed, which I have a 45 of, where he's just kind of screaming and moaning like he's hurt.
Hmm.
So that sets the stage for this album. She had several albums before this that were kind of internet releases. This was oh, shoot, I'm getting ahead of my notes here. Let me start with my notes too.
Well, can I jump in here real quick?
Of course, help
So
me out. Drowning
this
already.
is, I applaud you for keeping us current. And I think we should just put out a disclaimer. We recognize that we are two 40-something dudes. We are music fans. We're trying our best to stay up on what is current and what is, the best of current music. And that's what I would characterize this. This is new to me. I mean, Casey, you have introduced me to this. My children have introduced me to, had started already to introduce me to Chappell Roan's music. But this is so current. I was just, looking at BuzzFeed last night, and look what I found. 19 facts about Chappell Roan that will get you up to speed on the most important singer of the year. She's a super graphic, ultra modern girl, and you need to keep up.
Yep, exactly. I mean, this album is that we're reviewing is a 2023 album
Uh-huh.
with 9 singles that have been released from 2020 to 2023. So music's different these days. I've been saying I don't even understand why artists release albums. I would just release singles, like if I was Lady Gaga or something, like, because all it matters is the song these days. And Spotify, even when you see stuff categorized, it's categorized by plays,
Sure.
you know, just like this video on YouTube is categorized by views, things have gone to a much more basic level than they used to be,
Mhm.
and people buying albums are essentially super fans, and probably half of those people aren't playing it. I'm not gonna lie, the album I showed, it's not open. It's still sealed. I mean, I've listened to this album all the time in my car and computer and whatnot, but I haven't opened it yet because I don't know, speculation, I guess. I mean, I
See,
just haven't felt the need to put it on the turntable. I put my old stuff on the turntable.
you gonna hold on to it and let it grow in value?
In the back of my mind, I'm like, if I open this, if I crack this and play it on my turntable, what advantage do I get from listening it on my Google Home, on my Spotify that I pay whatever it is, $20 a month?
Mhm.
I, I'm I'm kind of always, as I've explained before, a form and format guy. So primarily, what I buy and listen to is 60s and 70s and sometimes 80s albums. But I do like to buy new stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, let's get to some of the small nuts and bolts. I'll work through this quick. Kylie, it might be Kylie, Rose Amstutz, born February 19th, 1998. Music, I can easily describe it as 80s or aughts synth pop, especially the album we're talking about here, and themes of drag and of camp.
Uh-huh.
Um, she was signed by Atlantic in 2017 from her YouTube. So this is what we are talking about the other day. She's a YouTube star. Her YouTube video song Die Young. Then in 2020, she was dropped by Atlantic, Atlantic being a major. That's when her first single that would be on this album came out, Pink Pony Club, and accompanying video, which is really fun. And even when I saw it, I was like, where's Orville Peck? Who is a gay country star that wears a Lone Ranger mask and was wearing fringe. He's actually from the Vancouver, British Columbia punk scene, was a drummer for a band that I do not remember, but essentially a very noisy punk group. And most people don't know his background because he's very secretive. But she does have ties to Orville Peck actually later in her career. Apparently, when she was touring her first tour on herself, her openers were drag queens, and she stole that from Orville Peck because that's what Orville was doing. Getting a little ahead of myself. 2023, Rise and Fall came out. First studio album produced by Dan Nigro, who worked with Olivia Rodrigo. She
Yeah.
also toured with Olivia Rodrigo, which was a big deal. Her fandom for Spotify and whatnot really grew because of that. Her clicks, her listens, her views, whatever. And that was on the Guts World Tour. So
Yeah.
I barely even knew of Olivia Rodrigo at that time. You know, I don't have a lot of experience with her, but obviously superstar and kind of important to mention, same producer. That's a big deal these days, you know. I mean, Timbaland or oh gosh, I can't think of another huge producer, but there's
Who's the Taylor Swift guy? No.
that's who I thank you. Thank you. I should have reached out sooner. Yes, of course, Jack Antonoff of Lana Del Rey and Taylor Swift fame. And I truly hate to jump ahead even more here, but those are two names that definitely come up when you think of our artist here, Chappell Roan.
Mhm. Well, and I think it's interesting. So the album title, she is from a small town in the Midwest.
Yep, Missouri, I believe, originally.
Yep, and she did go to California and
Yeah, LA, yep.
and find that it was challenging, and that gives these songs so much authenticity
Yeah.
and feeling.
Yes.
And it's what makes them so powerful is that they're specific.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think of like why these songs grabbed me so much the way they did. Of course, the very first seconds of the album, I'm thinking this sounds like Taylor Swift's Love Story.
Yeah.
But then she hits the gas, you know what I mean? And I'm like,
It's
okay, here we go.
Yeah, there are no doubt. I actually went through the whole album with my wife and we made comparisons. But she even asked me this morning, she's like, but what do you have to say about her? And of course, obviously, I have a lot to say. And that's for me, lyric, her lyrical writing and her melodies and her singing style is probably the most important. Now,
Yes.
there are songs on here, and I don't need to say what songs, but her new single, Good Luck Babe. That is Kate Bush.
Yeah.
It's a Kate Bush song. It it's just, and I mean that gets done these days, but it's a great song, and it's.
Brilliant.
But when I hear it, and not just her, I'm putting the blame on the producer on that one. Now I don't know if it's Dan or not, but when you hear those sounds, you're like, that is Kate Bush. And there's other songs. I think the one that's the biggest culprit is oh gosh, I have it here. My kink is Karma. Her breathiness and her intonation in that is Taylor Swift.
Yeah, like modern Taylor Swift.
It's, it's maybe not what Taylor Swift would say. Maybe
Yeah.
something she wants to say on her new album. I haven't heard it, but yeah, there's some pretty huge nods here. Lord gets thrown into the mix. I think there's a lot of songs that have Katy Perry's feeling. This
Yeah.
album was made intentionally to kind of break away, kind of like Lady Gaga did with, you don't want to be like the sad at the piano night after night.
Sure.
You don't like even The Cure hated that. They're like, we don't want to be the sad band because it sucks being sad every night. So
Well, and
she,
you know what she brings into it? She brings so much fun. And there's this
yeah,
like sort of Kesha element to it.
yes, Kesha, yes,
It's unpredictable and it's
yeah,
did she really just say that? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
See, and here's I think it's natural when you listen to, I mean, we are in the era of young female pop stars. I would say we're in this era of a unique phenomenon of 2024 is we're in an era of explicit female pop albums.
a feminine phenomenon,
Yes, I mean you it was kind of begun with Lana Del Rey, I guess you could argue, but of course then Taylor started, into that realm as well. Now Olivia Rodrigo, they're all explicit. They're all parental advisory. I'm not
yeah,
I don't that's great. I don't have any opinion on that other than is the music what it's supposed to be. But
right,
here's the thing I would say is we're in this era where the only artists that are rising into the public consciousness really
hmm,
these young female pop stars.
yep,
I don't see, you know, hip hop artists, rap artists the way it was in the 2010s that were kind of in the forefront of the public consciousness. It's just these female pop stars. And it's so interesting to me. And so I think it's natural to compare. We say, oh, this sounds like if you like this person, you probably like her. Those
right,
influences are real. But I think to your wife's point, Chappell Roan is so refreshingly original.
hmm,
And what you just said, it's her lyrics. I would say it's the specific nature of her lyrics.
yes,
It's her
very,
singing style that just hits you in the heart.
mhm,
Um, it just elevates it beyond all comparisons. Like, yes, when I first started listening, I was like, oh, this is like Taylor meets Kesha meets Maggie
yeah,
Rogers. But I'm like, no, this is Chappell Roan, and she is a force of nature. She is her own artist, and I'm on the train. I love
yeah,
it.
yeah, me too, me too. It's I mean, look at the world we live in right now. It is time for female artists to be in the spotlight and to give voice to things that need to be said. I mean, what more can you say? They can be disguised as fun topics, or they can be serious, or they can be this serious disguised with fun music, but they
Yeah,
need to be said right now. And unfortunately, they can't be said by 40-year-old dudes like you and I. They have to be said by women. And to a very interesting point of what Chappell has been doing. Um, I've thought a lot about it because I don't really understand, a lot of the movements going on now, and my opinions are probably more dated than they should be, but I'm pretty open. But what Chappell specifically is doing, I've thought about a lot, and I've thought about when you impersonate a man being a woman,
mhm.
it's different. It's different from what Bowie was doing. Bowie, when he was Ziggy Stardust, was saying, now this is the mid 70s, so it's a little different time, but he was saying, I'm a man who's okay, what would be totally fine now, being a little more feminine, being a little more flippant, having more fun with it, being more friendly towards his guy friends, being less homophobic and stuff, but nothing compared to the kind of stuff that gets done today. But I would still argue with what Chappell Roan is doing, and maybe Orville Peck to a lesser degree is doing something. It's tough to label it as
Yeah,
as doing anything or specific arguments that the right or the left would have. Like she's she's being androgynous almost like by using the back door, because she's not acting like a man. She's acting like a female idealized version of a man that's acting like a woman. So as we say in the tech world, she's playing some 4D chess. I am not going to pretend to understand it. This is where I get in trouble on the internet, but I think it's great because she's not doing something normal on
sure.
any level, and she will confuse everyone. And I try to wrap my head around it, and I can't. I can't. It's
Yeah,
cool. I get what she's doing, and I don't think a lot of people even get that.
yeah. Well, and I mean, you have to respect. You look at the songwriting credits. She wrote all these songs. This is her creation. We
Yeah,
talked about this on the Taylor Swift episode, where I think people minimize, Taylor's credentials, I guess, because they think, oh, and this was more true in the early days, like she's a product of the machine or whatever. But no, like these
yeah,
that I'm all for this movement. I would say that Chappell Roan is one of the most exciting artists that I've listened to in a long time.
yeah. I mean, this new song, the one that I was saying is so Kate Bush like, is really big. I mean, it was on the Tonight Show,
Hmm.
and I think possibly that was the first time I came across
Yeah,
uh, her. Uh, and yeah, I mean, I'm I hesitate to use the word worried, but I'm 26 years old. It's just a lot. Like
yeah,
when I remember back to when I was that age, I had some pretty big falls in my life, and I always heard the stories. Oh, you're going to pretend you're invincible. Not like high school invincible, but I'm a little bit fearful towards this movement, but it seems like they need like a team, or something. I don't know. It's great though. She's so great. Huge fan, and
too.
it's everything, And all these other artists I throw around, they're just comparisons. They don't on it for me. They don't compare really.
Yeah.
Uh,
I just love when I listen to this, and we can get into the songs. I love the way she pushes the tempos. I love the way,
oh
like,
yeah,
this is a fun album to listen to. It's not that it doesn't have serious moments, because it does, but it's like you said. I just love the fake out at the beginning of Phenomenon. Uh,
the most
you,
impossible name to say.
you think it's going to be one thing, and it quickly changes
Yeah,
drastically.
yeah. The play the beat thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a few like actual. We'll use Miley Cyrus here. There's quite a few bangers on this album. There's things, the Pink Pony Club, that story in that you can like feel like her moving to LA and going to
Oh
West
yeah.
Hollywood and going to one of these gay clubs, nightclubs, and seeing drag queens dancing and being like, we're not in Kansas anymore, I guess,
Well,
and
and being conflicted. She says,
yeah,
"You're always on my mind." She's thinking of her family and what she left, and it's bittersweet. It's
yeah.
real. It's human.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is I mean, you can have human songs that have a strong danceable beat. It's all about the lyrical content, and that's one thing that Chappell, I think, above all else, strives in
Yeah,
my opinion.
I would agree with you.
I mean, that is the song and how those lyrics are sung, the melody, is the important part. So she's got that down. So
Yeah, the
uh,
the God, what have you done part is just
yeah, yeah.
her vocal delivery on that one is just
Hmm.
beautiful.
Her falsettos are really good. I
Yeah,
don't know if there's other singing words for her voice, how it lilts, and it's just really it's very moving. Like
it's
go
very
listen.
moving. She's not singing like a professional quote unquote singer would. She's delivering the song.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So much power.
I know. And did you like everything I've seen? The Tiny Desk is amazing. Her band, like her performing with a band,
Yeah.
amazing. All female band, amazing. Yeah. There's It's good. I mean, I want to know. I want to know when the next album's gonna work, and if she's gonna keep working with Dan Nigro, or if she's gonna go to Jack Antonoff, or I could see a collaboration more. We're focused more on the beats. Maybe she said she wants to, Lady. Another. I apologize for all the comparisons, but it's the only words and language I know as a music fan. But Lady Gaga used to just do clubs with a keyboard, and we're talking the same voice, same songs to some degree. And like we said, like I said, she got tired of that, and she became this pop star. I mean, I remember when Poker Face came out. There's a similar feel when Lady Gaga came out to what Chappell's doing here. The whole
Yeah,
persona,
I see that.
the figuring out the persona. Of course, in this case, I believe Chappell is her late grandfather's last name, and Roan is his favorite song, Strawberry Roan.
Mhm.
So I do have that. So it's a commemoration to a lost loved one,
Yeah.
in this case, your grandparent. Um,
Well, tell me about the songs. Which ones stand out to you?
no, I got the whole list, and I think I did it in order of the 9 singles. But over here to the left, I'm staring at the song track list on Spotify. I think I'll just touch on a few of my faves. That's what we usually do anyway.
Yeah.
We already hit Pink Pony Club. I don't know if I have anything else to say about that. It's very anthemic. It's probably my favorite track.
Yeah, it's probably the best song on the album.
It also, oddly enough, was the first single released in April 3rd, 2020, 2 weeks after the pandemic started. So that's when the pandemic was full buy all the toilet paper Looney Tunes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I imagine that song didn't really quite get the coverage back then.
Yeah,
But
that was when we were wiping down our groceries with Lysol wipes.
I hope you never did that. I certainly did. Well, no judgment if you did. No judgment.
The weird time.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully everyone learned a little bit not to trust the media fully, or at least not to trust paranoia fully, their own and others. But anywho, that's the edited part of the segment. Uh, I'm gonna just go through the singles in order of release. The next one's California, which is very stonery, Lana Del Rey, pretty ballad, and
Mhm.
probably, is one that's not a standout to me. Then Naked in Manhattan, that was 2022. There's a gap there. There's no singles in 2021. Naked in
Naked in
Manhattan,
Manhattan strikes me as a much younger point of view. It's, I mean, it's exhilarating. I love the song, but it's like the references to Mean Girls and stuff. Like it gets very,
Sarah will love that.
it, it's, it feels like a Gen Z song. Not all of these feel like a Gen Z song, but that one definitely does. And that's not a bad thing. It's just, it's hard for me as a 40-year-old dude to sort of like,
Yeah, that one also has possibly the most 80s new wave underlying beat on it.
mhm.
I'm not hearing the song in my head, but the next is My Kink is Karma. We already talked about it.
We did.
That's some T swizzle right there. Maybe not the lyrics, but the whole breathiness on the ends of the chorus. Karma.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's like pushing towards getting the status to be able to have her voice. I don't feel that that's her.
Yeah. Maybe.
It's wrong to say it. You could do this with any artist. It makes me feel bad to particularly pick apart Chappell here, but I think by the next album, I don't think we can make these comparisons
Yeah.
because there's a Chappell Roan in here somewhere that is all Chappell Roan.
Yeah. I agree.
So, and then we have Femininomenon, which sounds a lot like Menomina. How to say it, that is. Really great. Play the beat.
It's just a launch pad to the rest of the album. I just love what a great opener.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, that goes into Red Wine Supernova on the album, which is my wife's favorite. Super
Love it.
amazing song, another one that pushes things, explicit at moments, and like you said, I mean, it's great. It's great.
You know what I love about that song is how the beat steps up halfway through the chorus. That's what I mean. She just keeps hitting the gas. Like it's like you think you've settled into to the beat, and then all
Yeah,
of a sudden she shouts, "Pick it up now!" And then it's just,
yep.
I love it.
Yeah,
No one else is doing that. Like that's her thing.
it's like a punk or punk ska band or something.
Yeah, right. Kind of.
She's pushing it, keeping it fun too. I mean, it's amazing. I think would be remiss without mentioning the sixth single, Casual.
Casual, yes.
Whew, wow. I don't know what us two dudes can say, but
Yeah, I
it
don't
is
know
gut
either.
wrenching. It is
Go ahead.
gut wrenching.
It's gut wrenching. Yeah, and it just, I mean, it puts you into the mindset of the character, like it's brilliant writing. And to
Yes.
me, oh, what a great melody. 2 weeks and your mom invites me to her house on Long Beach.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. That's that specific. I may not have ever had that happen to me, but I can feel how that feels when
Yeah,
you've met someone's parents
yeah.
and yet it doesn't mean anything to them.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, I, are we waiting for the Lana Del Rey cover of Chappell Roan on that one? Like, I mean, let's say it. Like, seriously. I mean, it's so powerful.
It
It's
is. To me, that's
a
just
hard one to hear. That beat is so slow and it just tears at you. And then you
yeah.
hear the lyrics and it's just like, I mean, if that gets played on the radio, I think
Not sure how, but
really dated myself there. Is that on the
well,
FM or the AM dial?
but again, this she makes it look so easy.
Yeah.
If you ever tried to sit down and write a song, like it's so easy to deal in cliches. It's so easy to just sort of to maybe not even go to that territory of tearing your heart out, just to kind of keep things on the surface. And
Yeah.
it's not intentional, but the really great artists, I think back to the Joni Mitchell Blue album. Remember we talked about how Chris Christopherson was like, save some of it for
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
doing Joni Mitchell Blue here. She's putting it out there in a
Yeah.
way that's so specific that even if I can't, even if I haven't had that experience, I can relate to it completely.
Yeah.
There's
For
no
sure.
pretense. I'm there. I'm in the song with her, even though I'm a very
Yeah.
different person. You know?
Oh, I know exactly. It's a believable narrative, but in song form. So, the minstrel is taking you along the ride. We'll get, 15th century on it here, like they have the lyre, the
Flute.
lyre. They're taking you along and you're being taken along because that's what music does when it's good. When
Yeah.
music is good, it takes you with it.
And isn't that what all great art does? You know, like
Yes.
I can put myself into, a painting from the 15th century and feel it,
Yeah.
it's I don't want to over I mean I don't maybe I'm not overstating. I just think that this is
Oh, that's
of
right.
all the musical developments to come in recent years, this is very exciting.
It is. It is. For me, I can skip Olivia Rodrigo and go right to Chappell Roan. Now, that's probably not legitimate. I I admittedly am kind of shocked that I haven't picked Lana Del Rey. I really thought Born to Die, that's my Lana Del Rey album.
Yeah.
And I think she's a great artist. And I think because Chappell Roan gets this too. The tagline that Chappell Roan gets is of your favorite artist's favorite artist. So Ariana, someone else that I can't remember. Everyone's like, I love Chappell Roan, and they'll like, you know, cover one of her songs at the end of the show or something, So she's getting all this, Andy Warhol type
Yeah.
artists. And when it's like that, I would actually make the point that usually that's because it's too explicit for the mainstream, and that people that don't censor their mind or censor art, they're more appreciative of that. And then it does trickle in and it does happen. I don't actually know where Chappell Roan is at as a celebrity because I don't know where any of us are at. And in light of everything going on right now, where are any of us? We're halfway between not even existing and only existing on a computer. We're minutes away from another shutdown, and at the same time, I can walk down the street and buy donuts. No one knows where they are anymore. Ready Player One. That's the mind that you know, we exist in some form. I'm getting a little out here, but I hope that the form that Chappell Roan exists in is one that is you, and I just wish her the best. That's what I gotta say. 'Cause I love this album. I'm gonna call it my favorite album of 2024 so far because I'm late and I apparently missed 2023. So
Well, let's just say I hope that she continues to have a long and Bowie-esque career.
yeah, that is very appropriate. I do definitely. I was thinking about that this morning. I was like, this is a Ziggy Stardust. This is a phase. Bowie had the chameleon of rock and roll had many a phase. Some that were very unpopular at the time, and some that became very popular. But yeah, I think I think it's what she's going for too. I wouldn't be surprised if the next one or the next one after that is very different, you know. So,
Well, great pick, Casey. Anything else you want to say about it?
I think my mind's pretty blank, and that's a good thing. Because it's usually not. So, uh,
Well,
super curious about your pick.
yeah, so I'm kind of on the fence here and actually have option A and option B. My only clue, I'm going to let you choose. My only clue is that they are both actual LPs for a change. I actually have them in my hand.
All right, all right.
So A or B, what's it going to be?
Well, I have to see them, don't
No, you got to do it blindly.
I? Well, uh, well, I mean, I'm a B-side guy, I suppose. We're going LP here. How about the B-side?
All right, I figured you would do that. So now you'll always wonder what the A was.
Ah,
This was my original pick.
okay.
I think it's time that we talk about
Ah,
U2.
okay.
This is I'm not going to say it's my personal favorite U2 album, but it is darn close.
Okay.
There's a lot to say about U2. It's the kind of band that people our age have feelings about.
Yes.
And it may be hard for people nowadays to understand why U2 was such a massive deal in the 90s. I know they were never like your thing in the 90s, but I know you loved the early stuff.
To some extent, the 80s stuff in general, Joshua Tree.
And not without getting
Nice.
into it too much, Unforgettable Fire was like the bridge. You know, I love bridge albums. It was the bridge to something new,
Okay.
which culminated in the Joshua Tree and all the stuff that everybody knows. But this album is a weird one. It's atmospheric, really interesting, I think. So I would love to do that one.
I think I have literally 3 copies of it kicking around here, so in good shape.
Excellent. All right, Casey.
All righty.
Enjoyed it.
Yes.